morning children, and welcome back in your English class, and I hope that you all are fit and fine, healthy and happy. Children, before starting the next topic, I want to say something to you that you know already that we have finished one chapter from prose section, that is the portrait of a lady, and one section from poem, that is the a photograph, and also we have completed figures of speech. We have completed one portion, one chapter from prose, and we have completed one poem from poetry section. Now children, I want to tell you one thing. I want to say that first we will complete the poetry section, then after completing all the poem, we will start the supplementary portion. So first we will start poetry section, as we have already finished one poem from your poetry section, that is a photograph written by Shirley Towson. We have already completed, and along with explanation and central idea and the notes I have already sent to you. So as we have completed one poem, so let's start the next poem. So we will start our next poem, that is the Laburnum Top. First we will finish all the poems prescribed in your syllabus, given in your syllabus. Then after completing the poetry section, we will start our next section, that is the supplementary section. Understood children? So so before starting the next poem, second poem that is in your syllabus, that is the Laburnum Top. So as you know that we have finished the first poem, that is a photograph. We have already finished the poem with explanation, with reference to context, with central idea, and all the section we have completed in that poem. So in today's lecture, we will start our next poem, that is the Laburnum Top. The poem's name is Laburnum Top, composed by Ted Hughes. Now, first we will discuss about its summary, about the brief life, and before the summary, we will discuss about the brief life sketch of its poet, that is Ted Hughes. So let's begin the poem, the Laburnum Top. Children, the Laburnum Top is composed by Ted Hughes, and Ted Hughes was born on August 17 in 1930 in Yorkshire in United Kingdom, and he died on October 28, 1998. And he was English poet. He was an English poet, and he was a modern British poet. And he, as a poet, he commands full individual superiority over his contemporaries. And you can say that he understood the sensibility and he understood the modern sensibility and the contemporary issues, but he used to write in his own perspective. Means he fully knew about the contemporary issues. He fully knew about his about the modern sensibility, the modern issues, the modern burning issues, but he used to write in his own way, in his own method, in his own outlook, in his own opinion, in his own perspective. And he was he has created before us the worlds worlds which instruct and which delight and instruct us, and which elevate us emotionally and intellectually. So and the theme of his poetry, is of course the man. That is the question of human existence, and he deals with the theme of man's relationship with the universe, with the natural world, and of course with his own inner self. And also the theme in his poetry is the energy which has to be turned into positive force. So the theme of his poetry is something very emotional, is something very intellectual, is something very it's something very practical, and something is related to the modern sensibility. So Ted Hughes used to write. In 1956, he married an American poet, that is Sylvia Plath. And in 1957, his first volume of the verse, that is the Hawk in the Rain, was published. And in 1960, his next volume of the verse, the Lubrical, was published. And in 1962, the volume of his selected poem was published. And Ted Hughes used to write, he also wrote some stories, some books for the children also. That is notably the Giant Man the Iron Man in 1968. The Iron Man was published in 1968, and the Giant Man, on which the film was also made in 1999, and also the Remains of the Helmet, that was published in 1979, in which he recalled the world of his childhood. And so this is the brief life sketch of Ted Hughes, who has composed the poem The Laburnum Top. Now let's come to the poem The Laburnum Top. First, before starting the summary of the poem, let's know about the meaning of laburnum. What is the laburnum mean? What is the laburnum? Children, the laburnum is the name of a tree. You can say that it is a name of a tree. It is a short tree with hanging branches with yellow flowers. It is a short tree with hanging branches and with yellow flowers. And in Hindi you can say that कि it is अमलतास का पेड़. हिंदी में इसको कहते हैं अमलतास का पेड़, यानी अमलतास का वृक्ष जो है, ये हिंदी में इसको कहते हैं. सो इन इंग्लिश इट इज़ कॉल्ड as the laburnum tree. The laburnum tree is a short tree with hanging branches and yellow flowers, and also it has seeds also. And you can say that it is a golden shower, medium sized tree. And Hindi it is called amaltas, and in Sanskrit it is called you can say the argvadha. In Sanskrit it is called argvadha. And argvadha is one of the most popular herbal plant known for the medical purposes, and it is used for the medical purposes. And in Sanskrit it's called argvadha. So argvadha is a medical, argvadha is a laburnum tree. In Sanskrit it is called argvadha, and it is one of the most herbal plant basically used for medical purpose. And it has a cluster of leaves. This laburnum tree has a cluster of leaves, and 3 or 8 leaves combine to form a cluster. So this is the laburnum. What is the laburnum? Laburnum is a short tree with hanging branches with yellow flowers, and it is golden. It is also called as golden shower. Medium. It is a medium-sized tree, and not very high, not very tall. And it has yellow flowers. It has a hanging branches, and it has seeds also. So next word is top. What is the meaning of top? Basically, generally you can say that it means the top part of the laburnum tree is called the top. But here in this poem, the meaning of the top is hood. That is the cluster. The meaning of the top is cluster. इसको हिंदी में हम कहते हैं गुच्छा. गुच्छे में किसी जो लीव्स का, जो एक फ्लावर्स का जो गुच्छा होता है, लीव्स का जो गुच्छा होता है, that is the cluster. So here the top means hood, that is the cluster, that is the combination, the many leaves or many petals of a flower combined to form a cluster. So here the top is cluster, or you can say that. So the poem is The Laburnum Top. The Laburnum top. It is a poem. It is a poem about Laburnum tree and a bird. It is about a laburnum top tree. It is about the tree laburnum tree and a bird that is known as goldfinch bird. इसको हिंदी में कहते हैं सोन चिड़िया, यानी सोन चिड़ी. That is called the goldfinch bird. So this beautiful poem, let's come to the summary of the poem. The poem Laburnum Top is composed by Ted Hughes, as I told you about the brief life sketch of the Ted Hughes. He was an English poet. He was a modern British poet. And this poem is composed by Ted Hughes, an English modern poet, and it is about a repaying relationship between the laburnum tree and a goldfinch bird. And what is the goldfinch bird? You have seen goldfinch birds? I think you have seen a goldfinch bird, a small bird with yellow feathers on its wing. It has a yellow feathers on its wing, and Hindi it is called son chidiya. It is called a son chidi jise kehte hain. That is called the goldfinch bird. So it is this poem is about a repaying relationship between the laburnum tree and the goldfinch bird. And the tree is yellow. The tree is yellow in color because it has a yellow flowers. The tree is yellow in color and it is still silent and death-like and is made alive. The tree is still silent and death-like without any motion, but is made alive by the bird and her young ones. The yellow bird has her shelter on that tree, and where her young ones, where she used to feed her young ones. But as soon as the bird leaves to fly in the sky, in the sky, the tree becomes silent. The tree becomes still. The tree becomes death-like again. So the poem "The Laburnum Tree" is a very beautiful poem in which the poet has used the laburnum tree and the goldfinch bird as a symbol of life and its fluctuations. Or in other words, you can say that it symbolizes the hardship of the life. So it is the beautiful poem in which the poet tries to describe. He describes about he used the laburnum tree and the goldfinch bird as a symbol, as the symbols of life and its fluctuations. Or you can say in other words that it symbolizes the hardship of life. So the poem starts with a description of the laburnum tree, whose top was still and silent, and his silent and tree is like death. A tree is death-like, and it has no life. The laburnum tree, whose top was still and silent, and there is no motion. There is no motion, and the tree is standing still and quiet, silent. Its leaves turned yellow, and the seeds had fallen down. And its leaves turned yellow and the seeds fallen down, and it was the daytime in the September. It was the daytime in the month of September when the tree was standing still and quiet and death-like. And so the children, it was the daytime in the month of September when the tree was standing still and quiet and silent and death-like. And then the lifeless tree becomes alive by the arrival of a beautiful goldfinch bird, and the goldfinch bird transformed the life of the tree and made it alive when her younger ones start rustle and chirp on seeing her. the goldfinch bird, what goldfinch bird, in fact, the goldfinch bird changes the life of the Laburnum tree. And the Laburnum tree once again becomes alive with the arrival of that beautiful golden bird, along with her younger ones, who used to chirp on the branches, who used to rustle and chirp on the branches of the Laburnum tree. And she used to feed her younger ones on the thickness of the branch. And then the tree, because the tree, as the tree is her shelter, and she arrives at the end of the branch with the sound of chirps, with the sound of chirping, with the sound of with the chirping sound. And she arrives at the end of the branch with chirping sound, and then she further moves to the other side of the branch with the rapid precautionary movement like a lizard. In fact, now she used to play on the branches of the Laburnum tree in happiness, in jolly, in a very beautiful postures, and she used to fly from one branch to another branch of the Laburnum tree. And her younger ones, they start chirping on seeing the branches of the beautiful tree, the branches of the Laburnum tree, the branches of the Laburnum tree having yellow flowers. So and as soon as she arrives, her younger ones start chirping like machine, vibrating and flapping their wings. They started chirping, they started making sound chirping, and they started flapping their wings. And they started chirping like a machine, and vibrating and flapping their wings. But as soon as the birds leaves to fly in the sky, the Laburnum tree once again becomes death-like. Once again becomes still, quiet and silent. So when the birds arrives, but along with the chirping of her younger ones, and when the birds used to move from one branch to another branch of the Laburnum tree, the Laburnum tree becomes alive, and it trembles, it shakes. But after feeding the younger ones, the goldfinch bird leaves the goldfinch bird she flies to other branch of the tree, and her dark color face with the yellow body barely visible as she vanished behind the yellow leaves. After feeding her younger ones, the bird flies on the other branch of the tree, and her dark color face with the yellow body barely visible as she vanished behind the yellow leaves. And at the last, what happened at the last, where as soon as the goldfinch bird leaves the tree to fly in the sky, the Laburnum tree once again becomes still, quiet, silent and death-like. So the Laburnum, so here what the authors, the poet, so this is the summary of the poem, and the poet, in fact, the Laburnum tree, what Laburnum tree symbolizes, what Laburnum tree shows, what Laburnum tree symbolizes, children. The Laburnum tree symbolizes the pattern of life in general, and which is usually dull and inanimate. And in this poem, the goldfinch bird changes the life of Laburnum tree, and laburnum tree, and without the goldfinch bird, in fact without the goldfinch bird, the tree is just like another tree. So in other words, you can say that it is the attitude of the person towards life that makes the life meaningful and worth living. So this is a very beautiful message, that is a very beautiful theme what the poet deals in this poem, that the laburnum tree symbolizes the pattern of life in general, which is usually dull and inanimate. As we can see in this poem, that the goldfinch bird transform or changes the life of the changes the tree, laburnum tree. In fact, without the goldfinch bird, the laburnum tree is just like another tree. So in other words, you can say that it is the attitude of the person, it is the attitude of a person towards life that makes life beautiful, that makes life meaningful and worth living. And also the theme of the poem, so in the poem the poet is trying to say that the poem is trying to say that life is a process of exchange and transformation. Life is a process of exchange and transformation. People are alive because they undergo exchange of energy. And here the goldfinch transform the life of tree. As I told you, it changes the life of the laburnum tree because how the goldfinch bird transform the life of tree, how it changes the life of laburnum tree. Because when the goldfinch bird arrives, as soon as she arrives on the tree, the tree is made alive. The tree becomes alive with the sounds of chirping of her younger ones. She used to play from one branch to another branch, and she used to feed her younger ones on the tree. But as soon as she leaves the tree to fly in the sky, the tree again becomes death, like silent, quiet and still. Children, the poet wants to tell the reader about the importance of living with each other. Why he wants to tell the importance of living with each other, because in this poem also the tree becomes alive when the goldfinch bird arrives on its branches. She used to play on the branches. She used to fly from one branch to another branch. She used to feed her young chicks. She used to play on the branches of the tree, and the tree becomes alive. The tree gets life with the sounds of chirping, with the playful movements, with the playful postures, with the playful moods of the bird, the goldfinch bird. And the laburnum tree top, which was still, which was quiet, which was death-like, now it is full of life. Now it gets energy. Now it got the energy, and it is getting energy from the bird, from that goldfinch bird and her younger ones. And the goldfinch bird and her younger ones, they used to flap their wings and they used to chirp on the branches. She used to feed them. So the tree was full of life, which was earlier still quiet and death-like. Now the tree is getting energy, and the tree becomes alive. The tree is full of life. Now the tree is full of life. But as soon as the bird leaves to fly in the sky, leaves the tree to fly in the sky, the laburnum tree once again becomes quite still and death-like. So the tree desperately, I think the poet tries to say that the poet also knows that the tree desperately wants to live with the goldfinch bird. He never wants to depart from that goldfinch bird, because the tree when the bird arrives on the tree gets life. The tree becomes alive. So that is why the poet tries to say about the importance of living with each other. So children, this is the summary of the poem, The Laburnum Top, composed by Ted Hughes. As we have completed the summary, and I also told you about the brief life sketch of the poet Ted Hughes, and now we will stop here today, and in next lecture we will start the explanation of the paragraphs one by one, and as in previous lecture, as in previous poem, that is a photograph, as I read the paragraph one by one, and then I told the explanation. In the same way, first I will read the paragraph one by one, then I will explain the paragraph, then I will tell the explanation of those paragraphs. So children, we will stop here today. In next lecture we will start the explanation of the paragraphs of this poem, that is The Laburnum Top, composed by Ted Hughes. So children, we will stop here. Okay, now one thing I also want to say, that children, that please write down all the notes whatever I am sending you, and please write all the question answers in your fair copy in literature section, in literature copy. Okay, so children, we will stop here. Take care of yourself and your family. Goodbye.